Coming up on Verse, Chorus, Verse, one band has been consistently gushed over in the small lifespan of this pod thus far. Evil and I are going to talk about them next.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to episode 112 of Verse, Chorus, Verse. I am DL. With me is Evil, Alpha Hal, Jimmy. Evil, do you consider yourself an alpha male?
God.
Or a beta cuck?
I'm an alpha cuck.
I think most of them are.
I've never liked hierarchical anythings.
Well, you must not like this band then, because, man, they love talking about alphas.
And omegas.
And omegas. No betas, though.
Poor betas.
This is the first episode of season 3 that Evil and I are doing. This is the first album exchange of the year. Kind of.
Yeah.
We cheated.
We totally cheated.
We cheated in like multiple ways. We've talked about both albums already that we're going to talk about.
But not in the way we're going to tonight.
How's life been lately? A little hectic?
Life's been a little frenetic, but it's good. It's a little high stress at the moment, but you know, everything's good. I'm a joy to everyone around me. You know this.
Have you had time to watch any of the YouTubes?
Yes, I have. I do watch the YouTubes. They're short and concise, and I like them.
They're to the point.
To the point. Like and subscribe.
What I have found over the last 2.5 years, or however long we've been doing this, is that the same bands do tend to get brought up frequently once.
Yeah.
Particularly the ones where more than one or more than two people fall in love with the albums.
Right.
You, Sven, and I have taken a big shine to this band. Mm-hmm. Something very unfair in the calendar of times of this podcast happened. You introduced me to Moontooth.
Yep.
I start a podcast. You are not part of that podcast yet. I talk about a band that you introduced me to and an album that you introduced me to before you're on said podcast. You don't get to talk about it. This is unfair. We are correcting that tonight.
Yeah. How long before the podcast started did we start talking about these guys? It wasn't very long.
It couldn't have been because the album came out in 2019.
Yeah.
Maybe a year.
Yeah, a year or less. I did not re-listen to the episode that Sven and you did. I didn't want to have our conversation colored by that at all.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to go back and see if my top 3 are going to be the same and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. I think they're going to be different.
Yeah, I was surprised too with both albums. I was surprised. We're going to do reverse order. I had spent a fair amount of time with Crux before the podcast even started. I'd kind of fallen in love with the band and the guitar playing and just how wild and crazy they are. Phototroph. Here's one of the quirks of the podcast is when I find music that I really like, I don't listen to it the same as I used to because I don't have time to.
Yep.
Phototroph was an album that I really, really dug. We did it on a quick fire and then it just got put on the shelf. That's one of the albums I like, but I wasn't really listening to it. Having the opportunity to actually really dig into it and listen to it over and over and over again changed a lot of things about that album for me, for sure.
I know exactly what you're talking about. The band automatically held a special place in my heart. I already liked them. They were the first or second band that ever actually gave us an okay to play their music.
Oh, that's right. I was so stoked when you let me know that you're going to be able to actually play their music.
This was the first time that it was the actual band that was like, thank you, play our shit, of course. But Evil, this band is so fucking good.
I know.
This isn't just because they gave us permission to play their songs and they're kind of like one of the first indie bands that they're not even indie, like they're half indie. Everybody should be talking about this band.
Yes, I 100% agree. There are a handful of bands that are like my darlings, you know, and this is one of them. This is a band that I feel like I need to be a champion for and use the podcast as a vessel to promote them as much as possible because they're so fucking talented.
In numerous ways, they are talented.
Yes.
We're going to get to dive into that. Yes, everyone, we know that we already talked about Crux, but Sven and I talked about Crux.
Right.
And that was so last year.
That was 2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago. It was pre-Evil Jimmy.
Yeah.
We can't live with ourselves as a podcast knowing that, well, we already covered Crux and we covered it without our resident metalhead. That's not fair.
Is pre-Evil, is that technically the Preval episodes?
Yes, it's EC.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Dad joke of the night.
I'm just getting warmed up.
Evil, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking a couple of things. I also have a new microphone.
You do. You have a handsome, buttery, soft microphone.
So we're all on the same page, production-wise.
The entire team now has Focusrites and SM7Bs.
I think we're an official podcast
I
now.
think we are.
We get like stickers and certificates and
Well,
all the money.
that's the other thing is we are actually officially an LLC now too.
Ooh.
So give us a year or two, you guys, and who knows, something's the limit. Evil, what are you drinking tonight?
I got a couple of things.
We need to get to the most important part of the night here.
A glass, sort of a whiskey drinking glass with some... Okay.
Did you say that you have a whiskey drink?
It's a whiskey drink.
Do you also have a lager drink?
I don't have a lager drink.
Do you have a what?
I have a water drink.
I don't remember the rest of the song. Water
about,
drink?
Get knocked down.
Yes.
That's kind of how I feel right now.
I'll let you talk
So
now.
I was going to... you posted photos of my setup, getting ready to make a drink. And I was all set up to make a Scotch lady. And then I went and opened my fridge and realized that some dumb idiot ate the rest of the eggs. His name is me.
Yeah.
Oops. So I had to mulligan and try something else. I used Scotch that I used to make Scotch lady, which used to be called Naked Grouse, made by the distillery that makes Famous Grouse and that whole fleet of different blended Scotches, is now called Naked Malt.
I think you were hiding... You had told me to try Naked Grouse.
I did.
I couldn't find it for like a whole year.
Because they don't make it anymore.
Yeah, I think you were hiding it from
me. Or they
me.
do. They just call it something else. Yeah.
Real sneaky.
Scotch Lady. It's a take on a Pink Lady, which is a gin drink. The Naked Grouse, now Naked Malt, is superior. It's a better Scotch. And I'm just drinking a glass of that. It's really good.
Nice.
I think that since I use this, it's technically a different cocktail.
Is it a Naked Lady?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
I like it.
I'm also drinking a Last Word.
Man, you are drinking a Naked Lady and a Last Word.
Well, I'm just drinking Scotch and the Last Word.
I was going to say, good night, Evil.
Good night and good luck. We got these, they're like really large coupes. I think they're wine glasses. Well, most coupes are. Yeah. I can mix a double Last Word and fit the whole thing in there with some room to spare. So that's why that's good. Why I am drinking that.
Last Words are strong.
Oh, they're so good though.
They are very good. I am on the road again. So far, recording episodes, the road is winning. I am in Asheville, North Carolina, which if you have not been to is an awesome, awesome city. I love it here. You know, it reminds me a little bit of a smaller Northwest, kind of like a Bend or lots of breweries. It's woodsy, but then it's got a nice, cool little downtown with a ton of like Japanese sushi, ramen. It's hip, but not in an annoying way, in like a, oh, yummy food and beer way.
You had a Paloma and some ramen earlier, yeah?
Did not know how well those two would go together, but it was spicy beef ramen.
Yum.
And a honey Paloma.
Oh.
Might have had two of them, and they were very, very good. The hotel, when I checked in, they had given me, because of my super awesome Marriott status, they had left 2 beers in my fridge for me. So I didn't have to pick what I was going to drink. I didn't have to find drinks. They were just here waiting for me, which is really how it should be, honestly. So
I like that.
Right now I am drinking a Juicy Haze IPA Voodoo Ranger.
Very nice.
And then I have a Wicked Hazy, I think it's like a Sam Adams or something in the fridge. And that's what I'm drinking. I want to talk about this band.
Yes.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. We are back. This week, Evil and I gave each other 2 albums from a band we love, and we're going to start it off here with Phototroph by Moontooth.
Yes.
Do they say the name of the album on the album? Do we know it's Phototroph or is it Phototroph?
I think it's Phototroph, but I am not positive. I mean, it's the title track's the last song.
I don't think he says it.
No, I don't think so either.
I feel like troph would have an E at the end. Phototroph
Yeah,
would.
I think it's Troph.
Well, sorry, Moontooth. It's not our fault. At the beginning of the album, you should have a phonetic sounding. This album came out in May of 2022. It is Moontooth's third studio album. Came out 3 years after the universally acclaimed Crux.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get any more into this, we got to guess each other's favorite song on the album.
Ooh.
So here's the thing. The thing about Moontooth, and we will talk a lot about this, there are certain parts that are just flat out metal, but there's also a lot of the things that I know that Evil likes in songs. Even when they're not metal, they're doing some form of guitar-driven uplifting.
Yes.
So it's really hard. I can't just say, oh, well, it's the heavy song.
And there is no just a heavy song because all of them have heavy parts in them.
And then
they fuck around so much throughout their
Yes.
songs. It could be the slow, moody, brooding song, but then it'll have like some fucking blistering guitar solo at the end.
Exactly.
They zig when you think they're going to zag, and good luck. Good luck picking.
So that's why, okay, I think that Death Wish Blues would kind of be the obvious pick for Evil, but I went with Nymphaeaceae.
Okay.
It's complex. It's not that obvious, but I will say why I think it would have been that one when we talk about it.
Got it.
What do you think my favorite song is on this?
So we did a quick fire of this last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think your favorite song was Alpha Howl.
My favorite song, Conduit.
I don't remember for sure, but I think it was. I'm going to stick with that choice just because I have no fucking idea which one of these awesome songs would be your favorite.
The way that I usually prepare for these episodes, this is usually an exchange of albums. The one that I'm given, I try to figure out a thesis of the album or a thesis of the review, what I'm going to talk about and why. And then for the other album, the one that I give to you, I just go track by track and I make notes.
Okay.
That's usually how I do my thing. This time we kind of gave this to each other. So I kind of did a little bit of both on both albums.
Sure.
There's no good segue into the thesis for this album is we've talked a lot on the podcast about bands that are one of one.
Yeah.
And that's so rare for a modern band. And they really are one of one.
100%.
I will give you first swing at why you think they are a one of one.
Oh, man. Let's start with just acumen. Every single one of them is a virtuoso at what they do, whether it's John's vocals, Nick on guitar, the rhythm section. I focus on guitar because that's what my interest is. But then when you stop and actually listen to what the rhythm section is doing, it's fucking mind boggling. They make it feel effortless.
Yes.
There is this weird creative thing that they have going on. I hear so many different bands and genres in their songs. Everything sounds familiar to me. Their musical DNA is thick and broad. They have pulled, that's what she said.
I'm off my game. How did I not?
They're a modern, heavier rock metal band. So there are the obvious parallels. You hear a Mastodon lick here and there. You hear it's down tuned. So you hear like stuff that you might compare them to like the gent bands. But then I hear like King's X in there.
Yes.
I hear fucking Vito Bratta from White Lion in some of those guitar lines. I hear like Motown stuff in there.
Yeah.
It's so all over the place.
So that's pretty much the three main first points that I was going to talk about. And you're absolutely right. I'll compare the first three songs of this album to prove that point. Song number 1, I Revere, which just completely sets the tone. It is such a Moontooth song. It's metal, but it isn't metal. It's major until it's minor. It's the lyrics are about perseverance, but also unabashed aggression through pain. And then you have Nick Lee, who's not only in a single guitar rock band, which is hard enough as it is,
Right.
but he makes it absolutely his own thing. When a guitarist is doing so much single note playing, you expect there to be something else going on in the band, like a synth player or a Wolstenholme style bass to back you up, or so many effects on your guitar that it boosts something, but he doesn't do any of that. It makes me so interested in what their writing process is. I want to know what their writing process is so bad.
Absolutely. Nick has a YouTube channel and he has some videos up from forever ago. Some of the bands that they have covered over the years. It's Zappa, Hendrix.
I sent you guys a link. I was going through their stuff and they did a Fiona Apple cover. They did Fast As You Can on like an acoustic thing.
He has a video of just him, not the whole band, but just him doing a Meshuggah cover on bass. It's like, what? Who are these guys, man?
Which, by the way, you go to Nick Lee's YouTube's videos and it's like 166 views. There should be 300,000 fucking views on this thing.
Have you seen Michael Palmisano's? His YouTube channel is always, for people who don't know, he's a guitar teacher, has a YouTube channel, and he does reactions to live performances. It's almost exclusively live performances. And I watched him do a reaction video. He hadn't listened to him before, so he wasn't really prepared. And you could see it. He was like watching, and he usually tries to like break down songs and play parts. And he's just like, I can't do this.
No, I'm just into this.
And he's an accomplished guitar player.
Very.
And there were points where he was like, I've never heard anyone like this before. That's not a common thing in the era of YouTube and the internet where everybody learns from watching other people. Everybody sounds like somebody else. Originality is so rare.
Everything's been done.
If you just think about like the process of learning an instrument, like I remember listening to Nuno Betancourt from Extreme talk about how he did not want to put out an instructional video because he developed his own style by listening to records and trying to figure it out on his own. Like my originality came from figuring out how to do this and not having like, video to see exactly where to put my fingers and stuff. Any music education that you want on tap, on video, at the push of a button from, a fucking supercomputer in your back pocket. Yeah. One of the things that I see is there are extremely talented and accomplished musicians in like junior high because they just have access to this training, but they all sound like somebody else.
Yeah, those people are on YouTube playing somebody else's riff.
Right.
And maybe they're making that riff more complex. You see that in a lot of the videos, but it's still, you're exactly right. They
use the same gear. They have the exact same fingering. They can slow it down and see the element of like self-discovery in music is kind of missing. Nobody sounds like Nick Lee. He figured something out on his own.
So yeah, you go from I Revere into Backburner. For those of you that haven't heard Backburner, that's 50 swing, for fuck's sake. That song is, if you set this song to different tones, different instrument, this could be like a fucking barbershop song. This could be like the Four Tops could be singing this.
Yes. It's like a metal version of something from the 50s. That's spot on. Yeah.
And then you go right into Death Wish Blues, which is like I even put here, you already said them. It's Meshuggah, it's Gojira all over it. It's those roots all over it. And Nick and John too. John just keeps it consistently unique. And you can tell right away that John, the lead singer, has so much soul influence. Even the lyrics to that, she laid my heart down on the floor and now it won't sing no more. Like that's fucking Otis Redding, dude. That is right out of Otis Redding's songbook.
And you know what I've been listening to a lot of lately is late 60s, early 70s soul and funk music. A lot of Otis Redding, a lot of like Bill Withers and James Brown, of course, Getting back into this band, it was perfect because it was familiar because I was listening to some of that stuff and then just having the time with the album, like being able to listen to it over and over and over and really letting those songs kind of marinate in my brain. Listen to the songs out of order. When we study for episodes, I don't know about you, but I usually listen to the album in order because I have a limited amount of time. Put on shuffle, mix it in with other stuff.
That was one of the things I wanted to talk about too, is I think the key to when I think an album is really, really fucking good, or it just for my taste, it takes me a long time to warm up to it. It takes me a long time to figure it out. You had mentioned it, that we did this on a quick fire. I knew when we did the quick fire, I know I like this album. I don't get it yet. And this has been probably one of, if not the most listened to vinyls after the finale of season 2 for me. I've listened to this vinyl so many times. Specific songs take me a while to warm up to. 7 months later, you're listening to an album that you've heard 70 times, and all of a sudden this one song jumps out and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Where was this song 7 months ago when I started listening to this? Alpha Howl in this album, I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what I think of it and what I don't think of it. And to me, that is a key that this is just a really, really fucking good album.
Yeah. That is an understatement. I knew when we had this on like a quick fire list where we're talking about 9 other albums along with it, I knew that it deserved way more attention than what I was able to give to it back then. I just didn't have the time to.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster of guitar riffs.
One of my off-season things that I talked about, the what are we listening to right now?
Yeah.
I had said in that the beginning of I Revere, how it's got that beautiful major guitar with him singing really gently, and all of a sudden it kicks into that Nick Lee riff. I crave that.
Yes.
Friday nights, I have to listen to the beginning of that song right now.
It is so in my wheelhouse. That song is so, it's flexing, but in a subtle way, like in a very musical way. It's in the context of the song. It's not like just flexing, just deflects. It adds to the song rather than takes away from it. Oh my God, it's so good.
Nick Lee is the king of, there are guitarists out there that you know what they can do by hearing them play.
Yeah.
But they don't do it. It's the Dave Grohl effect. It's the, why do I want to do a drum fill here when it's supposed to be about the song. Nick Lee is that type of guitarist. Yeah, I could absolutely shred through this for 4 minutes. What does that do for the song?
Here's the thing about him. There are guitar players who are known as like soloists, barrage of 16th notes at you, right? Arpeggios and sweep picking and all that stuff. Nick Lee can do all of that.
Yes.
He shreds as a rhythm player.
Yes.
Which most guitar players can fucking not do at all.
Because you have to be able to write.
Exactly. His rhythm playing shreds, and that is not normal.
Their styles, the way that they vary. When a band can have a song like Oh My Isle and Conduit on the same fucking album and it works, like it doesn't
back to back, like
it doesn't make any sense.
That middle part of the album, that was the sleeper for me. I don't want to say I like glossed over them previously, but more and more subsequent listens, that center section, kind of their more chorus driven stuff that hits real hard, like Alpha Howl and Oh My Isle. And then Conduit, which almost, it sounds like it could be off of fucking Typhoons. That sounds like a Royal Blood song in some ways.
Yeah, that's like when he does do the real low
pitch shifting or
doubled up effect
going on. And on the vocals too, like they take chances, man. They're experimental. They play different genres. Their songs are all incredibly different from one another.
They're pretty good.
They're okay. They're okay.
I don't have much else on this album. All the other stuff I could say is basic. Yeah, I know stuff. Ray Marte and Nick and Vin Romanelli, they just blast through this entire thing. A song like I said, your favorite song I thought was Nymphaeaceae. That is just a fucking showing of Ray, the drummer, and Nick and Vin just shredding for fucking 3.5 minutes.
When we did the quick fire, my favorite song on the quick fire was Carry Me Home. It's like the most 80s power metal sounding, and it's so fucking catchy. He's got this great catchy chorus, and the guitar playing is kind of hair metal-y sort of, which Nick Lee, he has another band. He plays in Riot 5, which is another metal band started in the 70s. And then Phototroph, the closing track, the title track, is also kind of, I hear a lot of like King's X and Living Color, late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, and Living Color is a good pull.
That song to me, I'm like, oh, this is Volbeat and Mastodon smushed together.
My John Paul Jones Award is going to fit in really well with what you just said. I don't know if we want to talk about this more when we talk about Crux, or we can talk about it now, but the only other thing that I wanted to talk about in this album is, particularly in a third album, I feel like bands start to be talked about with a natural progression. I don't know if it's that these guys grew more into themselves or the content differed. There's still the aggression, there's still the pain, but there's also, you can tell that maybe one or two of them fell in love. And I don't know if John writes all the lyrics or not, but you know, there's a lot of stuff on here about the opposite sex and relationships and stuff like that. And there just feels like a little bit more, if Crux is a darkness, it feels like this is more of the light side of that.
I agree and disagree. This album is more uplifting, more triumphant. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I think I'm disagreeing with the way I viewed Crux. Going into this episode and revisiting this music, I thought of Crux as like a darker album. It's not. It has dark moments that are memorable, but there's like very uplifting, triumphant stuff on Crux as well. I think maybe juxtaposed against this album, it contrasts a bit more, like the darkness contrasts a bit more.
I think maybe, and I'm just realizing this, I think there are 2-ish or maybe even one song that is very, very aggressively dark on Crux.
That could be.
It just makes me automatically think of it as darker.
That makes sense.
That's interesting. I mean, that's Phototroph, man.
Oh, Jesus.
I hope it's not Phototroph. I really hope it's not Phototroph. Should we go to awards and categories?
Yeah, why not?
Here we go. David Crosby Met Award for bad reviews.
Okay, hold on. David Crosby is no longer with us.
I mean, we keep the award, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yes, it's on my fucking sweatshirt. We have to keep the award.
Comedically, on this podcast, it has been a consistent joke that Evil was not the biggest fan of David Crosby because of something that he had said about Eddie Van Halen after he passed away. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on not the passing of David Crosby. I mean, not even you will deny the talent that was in Crosby Stills.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
I'll let you speak to that a little bit and maybe just say a couple nice things so we can keep this award and not feel bad about it.
All right. A very talented, accomplished, and revered musician of his time, David Crosby. Can we all agree on that?
Absolutely.
We're all flawed humans. And he said some shit about Eddie Van Halen. I vowed to hold against him until the day he died. That has come and gone.
There you go.
And I'm going to keep holding it against him because it's fucking funny.
There, exactly. Yeah.
And it's all in fun.
David Crosby seems, at least at one point, to have been the type of person to have, if he had known that there was a music podcast that had the David Crosby Met Award, he would have thought that was fucking hilarious.
I think so. I think he would be a good sport about it. He and I, in a different life where he was still around, we probably would have had a drink and shared a whiskey. I don't know what he liked to do.
I think he liked to give his semen to...
That's not weird.
That joke went terribly. Edit that out, David.
Come to my window.
Oh shit. Okay, not only could I not find a bad review of this album, I couldn't find a review that wasn't glowing.
Here's the thing about them is they are so under the radar that everyone who finds them is looking for them. But the people that find them are looking for this kind of music.
Good point.
Of course, everyone's going to be gushing over what they do.
I think the worst rate I saw was like Pitchfork gave it like a 7.3 or something, but even the review was very positive. That's a really good point that I hadn't thought of, though, is that, yeah, I think it's not like it was Billboard chart reviewed or anything like that. It was people that like this style of music. I guess we'll go to the DMX Award. This is the first time we've done an album exchange this year, so we will explain the awards. The DMX Award, what makes this band or project unique? We've really already talked about it. They are their own genre. Mm-hmm. Apparently, according to the internet, they're J-pop. What the fuck was that?
I don't know.
That's insane. New award for this year. So we are going to add one award for somebody prominent to us that passed. DMX Award was added after season 1 when DMX passed. This year's the Mark Lanegan True Rock Star Award. What makes the creators of this album rock stars?
They give zero fucks and they will flex at what they do. In an era when everything is like quantized and snapped to a click track and 2 minutes, 30 seconds, these guys are like, fuck that. We're playing awesome music and we're just going to go wherever the song takes us. And oh, by the way, Nick Lee's going to fucking shred over the whole thing. And John's vocals, it's the same thing.
I will start with my easy answer for the Mark Lanegan Award, which is they have songs called Alpha Howl and Rhythm and Roar and things like that. They are insane live. Yeah. Nick Lee gets on people's shoulders and plays and fucking old school rock like that. But my real Mark Lanegan True Rock Star Award answer is this. I don't know very many guitar players that were in a fucking coma And 2 weeks later, they were tabbing out their guitar,
Right.
getting ready to play again.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that yet.
We talked in the finale a lot about what happened with Nick.
Yeah.
That happened, like 3 months after this album came out? I don't want to say that. 'Cause
I think you might be pretty close. I mean, they were either touring or gearing up to do a big tour leg.
They're already back on their Instagram and they're already playing together again. And I mean, it doesn't really get much more rock star than that.
That's for sure.
Overrated, underrated, properly rated.
Fucking rated. They are so underrated.
These guys should be huge.
Criminally underrated.
These guys should be playing for stadiums. At big rock festivals, there's the huge Saturday night group. These guys should be the huge like Friday night group.
Yeah. Here's the Okay. I have a theory. Really adept clean singing, super heavy music. As it stands now, the people who would want to hear clean singing, the music is just fucking too much for them. It's too advanced for them. For like hardcore metalheads, they want harsh vocals. If these guys were a thing in like the late 90s, they would be one of the biggest bands on the planet.
One of the things that hit me while I was studying for this, I think I was driving around or something. I remember thinking it. No lyrics were being sung. The music was on. And I remember thinking in my head, you know what should be happening right now is death metal scream.
Yeah, it should be
happening right now. But it's not.
No.
It's John doing his kind of soulish. You're absolutely right. That's what makes it just not straight up metal. Influences and influencees. We talked about a lot of them. Gojira, Otis Redding, Meshuggah.
You just said Gojira, comma, Otis Redding like it's a fucking normal thing to say. There's a riff. Oh God, I should have wrote it down. I can't even remember what song it's in, but it took me forever to figure out who it made me think of. It was God Forbid. And it was just one riff. There's so much to pull from. Late 80s, early 90s phase of music that I've talked about a lot of times, where there's this group of bands that don't really, they're all N of ones. There's like King's X and there's like Faith No More, and these guys are right in there.
Do you think that certain metalheads, people in the metal community, wouldn't like these guys because of how John sings?
Yes, I do think that.
Yeah.
As with all things, there is so much balkanization of musical genres, like compartmentalization. Like, I like this kind of music and I don't listen to what blah, 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 whatever, because it's death to false metal, you know, that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
I really think there's a lot of that, but fuck, that's why I feel like these guys would have thrived in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
And I also think that there are balls there for John to be like, no, I'm not going to fucking scream. I'm going to sing. And there are balls for Nick and Ray to be like, okay, yeah, come sing. We don't need a singer, a screamer.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question. Never mind the Bullocks Award. Evil, is this Moontooth's best album?
I do think it's their best. I don't know if it's their best album by like a large margin, but I feel like everything gelled for them.
I don't know, man. I can't figure this one out. As a whole, this album is better. But I think there are songs.
There are songs on Crux that are fucking monstrous.
Yeah.
There's a guitar solo on Crux that I think is one of the greatest guitar solos of all time.
I hope we're thinking of the same one.
Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there.
The John Paul Jones Award, Evil, add, replace.
I don't want to add or replace anything to this band as they are. I want them to collaborate with some other bands.
Ooh.
I want to hear them disrupt other genres because they're capable of doing that. What if Moontooth and JID collaborated on something? I
would not mind that.
How interesting would that be?
I would not mind that at all. My John Paul Jones Award, which you were speaking to on some specific songs more towards the end of this album that have this prime 80s rock feel. First off, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't replace or add anybody. But if I had to, I'm thinking maybe some Dr. Feelgood era Vince Neil. There are parts on this album where I'm like, hell yeah, man. We could get some Motley Crue in here for sure.
Have you seen Vince Neil lately?
Well, I mean, I saw him 15 years ago, which was plenty bad then. So I imagine now.
Imagine like the 80s hair metal version of Gollum after this much time.
Nobody could have seen it coming. All those 80s dudes aging really badly.
Some clean living, those boys.
All right, a new award. This is No, dude, seriously, award.
I like this award.
If you have one song to show somebody that will get them into this album, Evil, what is it?
It's the opening track. It's I Revere.
I said the same thing.
I mean, that's the answer.
It's the band in its entirety.
Yeah.
The John Popper Award for Best Hook. I'll give mine first. Very, very, very close one. Oh My Isle, repeat the rip from the current. But the winner for this to me is the entire Conduit chorus.
Well, that's a good answer too. I have a tie. I haven't written in the opposite order of what I'm going to say them in.
Well, you can read one before the other still, even if they're ordered differently.
Okay. I'm going to start. God damn it. I'm going to start with the chorus of Carry Me Home.
That's really good.
You gotta open the door up and let it inside. You gotta open the door up and let it inside. You gotta...
You want to know, but the chorus for Alpha Howl grew on me. That's the one that grew on me. And I think as a hook, it hits so fucking hard.
Did you watch the music video for Alpha Howl?
Yes.
Do you know what I love about that video?
What?
There are certain people, and it always happens to musicians in their music videos, that you can tell are extremely uncomfortable and don't know what to do when they're in a suit. And this video is very much that. None of these guys have ever worn a suit or ever want to wear a suit.
Oh my God. They need to do a big festival tour with the Boston's.
Yeah. The John Prine Best Lyric Award.
Okay, so mostly this song was a little on the nose lyrically for me, but it's on the nose in a way that I absolutely love because I'm a big, huge...
That's what she said.
Get yourself together here, Evil. I love philosophy. One of my favorite philosophers is Plato, the title of the album, the title track. There's a lot of allegory of the cave going on in that song.
Yeah.
There is one line that I fucking love, and it's all ye who enter, abandon all woe. I just fucking love that line.
It's the opposite of the usual term, abandon all hope ye who enter here.
I know. They flipped it upside down. Turned the frown upside down. Good job.
There are two specific lines I love. The first one from I Revere, which is a child throwing sand at the unforgiving tide.
Yeah.
And then a line from Alpha Howl, I don't hate this place. I just hate that I'm here. I don't want to keep using it, but I have to. The fucking chorus for Conduit. It's fucking amazing.
I am so fucking glad that track is on this album.
Oh, me too.
Oh.
Evil, what is the Eddie Van Halen Award?
I have an answer, but I have the real answer. Which one do you want first?
The not real answer.
The not real answer is Carry Me Home.
Okay.
It is triumphant. It's great 80s inspired guitar.
It's
got a great fucking hook.
It does.
I like triumphant guitar rock, and that is the fucking pinnacle of triumphant guitar rock. The real answer, the whole fucking album.
Oh. This is what I have written down. The solo in Phototroph is the right answer, and if you say differently, you're wrong. So I was hoping that was what you were going to say.
I'm okay being wrong because that solo is good.
The Surfer Rosa Award structure of the album, Moontooth is their own thing with the structure of an album. You kind of find it in pockets. All of a sudden you're super into tracks 5, 6, and 7.
I feel like the middle might be the strongest part of the album, but it doesn't have my favorite songs in it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
It's a well-structured album, I think is what Evil is saying.
It is.
So now to the hardest question. Time of Your Life Award. Evil, what is the worst song on this album?
The worst song. Okay, my least favorite song.
There you go.
Is Grip the Ridge.
That's exactly what I said.
But then if that solo kicks in at the end and it's just like, Jesus Christ, man, fucking let me have one song not to like.
Yep.
Nope.
Okay, 3 best songs on the album. Very, very hard for me not to put I Revere or Phototroph on here.
Yes,
but
I agree.
My top 3, Carry Me Home. Number 2, Oh My Isle. All around, it's just so well done. But my number 1, which has been my when I need my ass kicked, when I am on mile 12 of a run and I'm going uphill and I need something to say that I am an invincible human and I can do anything at any time and everybody else can go fuck themselves. It's fucking Conduit.
Whoa!
Conduit is one of the coolest fucking songs.
Yes, it is.
I've heard in a very long time. I've got to read you all the chorus if you haven't heard this yet, so you understand where I'm coming from. I'm going to earn my keep, going to take my place, ain't going to listen to a goddamn thing you say. I'm going to steal all the gold and piss on your know-how. And if I said it once, said it 100 times, they're going to scream my name till they fucking die. I'm going to steal all the gold and piss on your know-how. Come on. Evil, what are your 3 favorite songs on Phototroph?
We had very similar dilemmas with this because I think I Revere is an amazing opener and Phototroph is an amazing album closer and title track.
Yep.
You could ask me this question any day of the week and I might give a completely different top 3. But I'm going to go number 3, Alpha Hell.
Okay.
Number 2, Carry Me Home.
Okay.
I love the chorus. It's great cheesy guitar playing, tongue in cheek a little bit. It's fucking triumphant.
It's awesome.
But the song that grew on me the most, and that's why I'm going to put it at number 1, is because it grew on me the most of the whole album, is Oh My Isle. The weird dragged timing of Rip From the Current, it pulled me in. That's the one song that I'll find bouncing around in my head, like randomly.
The guitar in Oh My Isle reminds me a lot of Gojira. I think you're a Gojira fan.
Yeah, a little bit, just a touch. Hey, he plays a guitar from a French guitar company.
There
it's
you go.
Science.
It's Kismet. Evil, who won the album?
Nick Lee and the band coming together and gelling.
I just said the entire band. I know it's a cop out, but it sounds like they really enjoyed making this. It sounds like they're super proud. It's something that you can just tell that they're proud of it. It's great. They nailed it, and I think they know it. Going with that, time to rate the album. In true DL fashion, it's not a perfect 10 for me. There are just a few spots. It's damn near close. And I gave it 9 out of 10 lily pads. I had to look up what nymphaceae is. Don't make me look up words, Moontooth. Maybe that's why you didn't get a 10 out of 10. Evil, rate the album.
I like this album more than I did last year.
Awesome.
I'm just going to say that. And coming into this, I was a huge fan of Crux. I am still a very huge fan of Crux. But fuck did this album grow on me. And it was already one of my top 5 albums of last year. I'm going to give it 10 out of 10 Allegories of the Cave.
Wow.
I fucking love this band. I love this album. I feel like we need to be champions for these guys and get them out there. They deserve so much more fandom, credit, adulation, dollars thrown at them to do more of what they're doing as our artists and musicians because they are an N equals 1.
Yes. Evil with his maybe 4th 10 out of 10
maybe
ever on the show. Mesmerized Dirt, Gorillas, and this. For those of you that don't know, DL now has a 10 out of 10 wall. I get to add this one. I get to add one.
This goes up there. This fucking definitely goes up there.
We are done with Phototroph.
And 10s.
And 10. Oh, another dad joke for Evil. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. We are back. Our second album is from the same band.
Oh,
can you
you're
believe
kidding.
it? It is 2019's Crux.
Crux.
Since it came from our sisters, in eternal fight, our brothers, the return.
Released on March 19th of 2019 on the label Modern Static. Genres listed are metal, rock, Japanese rock, and J-pop.
I love that.
I mean, we talked about this up front. This was an album, like I'm always on the lookout for awesome, new, innovative rock, heavy metal, especially stuff that's got really fucking cool guitar. There's a song on this album that lassoed me and pulled me in like few others ever have before. And I shared it with you before the podcast was even a thing. Tell me about your first listen to this, if you can remember it.
I do remember it. I remember you sending me one of the random things that we do when we find something cool, kind of a what the fuck. And I don't want to spoil anything. Plus, I don't remember. I know it was one of two songs that you sent me, but I don't remember which one it was. It's the same things we've been talking about. I just remember thinking, I have never heard anything like this.
Yeah.
It wasn't a slow burn, but it was one of those bands that there were 3 songs that I kept listening to, and it took me a little while to get into the whole album. But once I did, I was I was so sold.
We're talking about Crux. This is their second full-length album. They released an EP.
Before you go there, we got to guess each other's favorite song.
Oh, okay.
Look, I think that this is too easy. So I'm just going to say fuck it. I was about to go out on a limb. I didn't want to go heaviest again.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a song on here that there's something about it that it's the lyrical content. It's the way that it's written. It's the flow through the whole thing with the drums and the guitar, which is Motionless in the Sky. I just didn't want to go. No, I'm just kidding. Your favorite song. I'm going to say.
Do you like my
Exactly. I'm going to say your favorite song is Thumb Spike.
Ooh,
So I just have
that
to.
song is so fucking
I just
heavy.
have to do it.
It's so heavy. Jesus Christ. That's really good, actually. For you, it's difficult because how do you judge this band? Like,
Yeah.
very literally, how do you judge this band? I don't know. I know how I do. You could go with Trust, which is fucking mind-boggling. Another
okay.
intro that it just like raises the hair on. It could be Omega Days. It could be Rhythm and Roar.
Yeah, it definitely could be any of those.
I'm going to say Rhythm and Roar just because I'm looking at it. It's right in the middle of the album. It's like, this is like a dart throw, really.
You just named 4 songs on the album,
Yeah.
and I have a top 4, and those are my top 4. So we'll see how right you are.
Oh, man. All right.
And I think you're right. This album isn't as dark as I had put in my head, but I think the reason that it's in my head as that is because the very first song, Trust,
Yeah.
about as dark and heavy as this band will ever get, it seems.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yes, but also no. I mean, pieces of it or no.
Dude, if you saw the ghosts I see when I sleep, you'd leave too. You'd claw your way out. You'd grow fangs. You'd bite. You'd rip. You'd tear your way gone. Like, that's fucking... And that's not even counting what the fucking drums and guitar and bass are doing.
Well,
They're,
that's true. That's a good point. This also illustrates how much I don't pay attention to lyrics versus the actual music, because there is something that happens in this song that is fucking special and changes the context of the entire song. So I don't want to, we'll save that for now.
That's actually, if I were to be able to talk to this band, one of the questions I'd be most interested in is where the fuck did some of the breakdowns that they come up with come from?
This is their second full-length album. Their previous LP was Chroma Paragon, and before that they released an EP. There was I think a fairly significant progression from Chroma Paragon to Crux, and then the progression from Crux to Phototroph was the one where everything kind of congealed.
Yeah.
God, there is some brilliant stuff on here, man. There is some absolute brilliance on here and some surprises.
Very true. One thing that I purposely didn't touch on in the last episode because I wanted to concentrate much more on it now. For those of you that know Moontooth, but you haven't looked at the liner notes, you haven't looked at the production notes, you haven't looked at the engineering, it's all fucking Ray Marte. their drummer.
Yeah. Yes, their drummer.
He produces and engineers all of it. Even just, okay, I want people that have never been a part of a recording session or recorded an album or seen how it's done, whatever you want to say. I want you to understand how hard it is to engineer drums. That's not even touching engineering your own drums.
Yeah.
There's already something to be said for trying to produce yourself. There's this weird fucking thing in your brain that is always just going to think that it's wrong and you're going to overcorrect until it sounds like shit. One of the reasons why these albums are so good, and Moontooth has so much to thank fucking Ray Marte. These albums sound so unbelievably good, and put in the wrong hands of a band like this that isn't big yet, that is kind of, you know, half indie, like they've had labels, but I don't know how much money they were given to record albums. The fact that their drummer did it all and it sounds this good that's right. It's kind of fucking unheard of.
I mean, just the art of miking a drum kit is, I mean, fuck, man, that's a dark art. This entire band is super talented in a broad sense. Production as a skill set, that's an entire like career path. And the guy's a fucking phenomenal drummer on top of it. And they're so under the radar that it is criminal.
They have a great, very, very devoted following. I do believe that this band will get theirs, and their shows do incredible. They should be way bigger.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think set this band apart and that makes you realize that they're so different is, especially when you're first discovering them, is you turn on an album like this and you hear specific songs and you're like, oh yeah, these guys fucking are amazing. But then you also have songs on here like Motionless in the Sky and Crux and Through Ash and Raise a Light, which Raise a Light was one of the first signs. That's the last song on this album. And once again, that is about as fucking doo-wop swing as you can be while still having like a distorted guitar. These guys are doing just something different.
There have been other bands that we gush about. We gush about Gojira. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about Royal Blood.
Yep.
On Typhoons, there's a song that you really dug that's a fucking doo-wop song.
Yes.
We all have our favorites. You know, I'm guilty as charged. Like, my absolute favorite band's released a track recently, and it's so in the pocket that I know it is its own thing, man. But these guys are doing stuff that it's just musically savvy.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're not just musicians, they're like music fans.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
And that is...
Crux is fucking light reverb, very, very clean arpeggio with John coming in singing Dare I Name Electric Blue in this kind of swoon.
These guys are labeled as being progressive, which I think is
prog
true
rock.
In some sense. Prog rock in some sense. But is it progressive, or are they just fucking smart musicians?
Yeah. I think people automatically, when they hear something that is metal but different, they automatically want to label it prog.
Yep.
I don't know how much prog this is, honestly.
I feel like
their first album, have you listened to their first album?
Chroma Paragon? Yeah.
That's prog.
That's prog. They're like reaching out. They're trying to find stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
There is some of that going on here, and there's definitely some of that going on Phototroph. But they're also reaching backwards as well, which I think is in some ways smarter and more difficult to do and pull off.
Absolutely.
That's the thing, is they're doing some stuff that's so interesting that people can't categorize them.
They really are.
Yeah,
and
dude. Oh.
There are songs on this that just plain rock, like Omega Days and Musketeers and Thumbspike. And then there are songs that you hear and you're like, oh, that's just one of the best rock songs you're ever going to hear. Rhythm and Roar and Trust and Awe at All Angles. Like, what is it called? Their acoustic sessions, Violent Grief or
Yeah. You turned me on to that, and I listened to that. It's ridiculous.
For Nick Lee to be able to play the things that he plays on Awe at All Angles and Trust on acoustic, that's fucking sick.
Yes.
He has no business doing that.
I have a number of guitar heroes. He is my most current guitar hero. Like it's unique. It is its own thing and interesting. And it's not just like wheedly.
No. Yeah.
No, it's fucking interesting. But can we talk about the elephant in the room? The whole reason that we talk about this band. Can we talk about it? Please, can we? Let's talk about Trust.
Let's talk about it.
Forever ago, Preval, before the podcast was even a thing, I found this band. The first track I found was Trust.
Yeah.
It was blowing me away. I was like, this is some really fucking cool, heavy music, some cool guitar stuff. The solo starts. Oh, it kind of slows down. The solo begins and it's doing its thing. And then there's this break in the solo and he like bends this chord up and there's like some fucking drum and bass. And then it just turns into a goddamn funhouse. It's like this funky
jazz.
It was like record scratch, like and everything stopped. And I'm like, oh my God, this band is something different.
Yeah, it is the epitome of what makes Moontooth. Is suddenly there's this breakdown. He's doing these jazz chords while you can lightly hear John's harmonizing ooh in the background. Like this song Trust, listen to the beginning of it. I'll just play it right now. And now I will play what's going on in the breakdown. Yeah, that's the same fucking song. Like Ray Marte is doing the crazy ride snare hits.
I know exactly what you mean.
Motherfucker, man.
Honestly, the thing that caught me like that previously was 10 years before this. It was an album called Existence is Futile by Revocation. It was Dave Davidson. Solo and playing on Dismantle the Dictator was the thing that happened before this. 10 years before this. That is the level that Dick Lee is at.
We aren't going to spend as much time on this album because honestly,
we said it
all the same stuff that we talked about with Phototroph, it applies to this. My big takeaway for this album is I think Phototroph is probably a better album.
Yep.
But there are songs on this. I think there are a couple songs on this that are a couple of the best rock songs I've ever heard.
I don't disagree with you.
And with that, we will go to the David Crosby Meh Award for Bad Reviews. Cheers to David Crosby.
Cheers, Dave.
You had your differences.
Mr. Crosby.
Love everyone, right?
He could write a song. Mr. Crosby could.
Same thing with this one. I could not find anything even close to negative about this album. Everything I found was extremely positive. Same thing for me for the DMX Award.
How could you? It's like...
Yeah. And same thing with the Mark Lanigan Rockstar Award. This is the same band, which that's a little different. We don't usually do the same band for both albums.
Yeah, we fully recognize how much we're cheating on this episode.
Give us a break. And we're going to cheat on the next one too, because yes, they are still incredibly underrated.
Yes.
They remain underrated. More people need to listen to this album. Go buy, man. The vinyl is beautiful. They have a splatter vinyl that you can go buy. Go buy. You can get them on Bandcamp. They have the website on their new label. What is it? Pure Noise? Yes, Pure Noise Records. You can get Phototroph, you can get Crux, and you can get the Violent Grief acoustic sessions on vinyl.
Ooh, I didn't know that. I'm gonna check that out.
Okay, now here's where there might be some differences. Influences and influences. For me, I did hear a lot more of the 90s Tool-ish sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I heard less of the Mastodonish stuff and more of the Tool-ish stuff on this one, I would say.
Like I said, I hear King's X in their music. I hear Incubus in their music. I hear a spread of different stuff in what they do.
Incubus is a good one.
You pulled out some references on Crux and stuff that I maybe missed. They were still kind of coming together for me on this album.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
True artists, which is what these guys are. They're trying to carve out something that's their own.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to kind of reach out forward and try new things that maybe don't work all the time. Versus bands who just start out by pulling from old influences and then they're just rehashing old shit.
I also think there's a lot to be said with the fact that there is a huge difference between a band that's been playing together or trying to start for 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly Crux comes out and they toured a ton for it. They played all the time together. And then all of a sudden it's 3 years later. By that time, you basically know each other and your style and who you are by like the back of your hand. And then you come out with Phototroph.
You have to like reach forward to find yourself.
Yeah. Never mind the Bullocks Award. We already pretty much talked about this. I think I'm still more in the I don't know camp.
I don't think this is their best. I don't think they did not congeal as much on this album as they did as Phototroph.
Fine.
That's how I see it anyway. I think Phototroph is superior for sure.
John Paul Jones Award. So once again, I wouldn't do anything, but there are a couple songs. I just want to see what it'd sound like. Might ruin it, might not. I don't know. But there are songs like Crux or Motionless in the Sky. Sometimes when you have songs like that, where you have the more acoustic, I don't know if he's playing a 12 string or not, or you have like the light, really, really clean guitar. I kind of want to hear like an Eastern European metal when it gets softer. They'll throw like a balalaika or like tambura guitar or something, like an Eastern guitar. Like,
Yeah.
Like I kind of want
different scale, kind of.
Yeah. Something like that might be kind of cool in one of those. That's really just me not taking the easy way out and saying I wouldn't change anything.
I thought you were going to say Nicki Minaj, but
what do you have a John Paul?
At this point in their career, they would have benefited by collaborating with someone who would have made them stretch their stretch their
imagination.
Not even their imagination. Their identity. We were talking about identity. Stretch their identity a little bit. Someone who did challenge them to kind of reach their potential.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And I don't know what that would be. I don't know if it's like
King Wizard Gizzard and the Lizard Fizzard. That might be good. They're on the same label as Less Than Jake. They can steal Less Than Jake's brass. And
there it is.
Use
That's
that.
what I'm they need like brass. But I would want them to play with like jazz musicians. Like someone who would really stretch them.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm getting at.
Like a Miles Davis session.
Fucking exactly. At this point in their career.
I can't even wrap my head around that. No, dude, seriously award. I mean, there are a couple, but Trust is the right answer, right?
The answer for their entire catalog.
The John Popper Award. What is the best hook on this album, Evil?
Musketeers. The chorus for Musketeers. 100%.
Not today, motherfucker. We got your number.
Yeah.
Yes. Mine, I have two. Omega Day, the Behold Your True King, Know Us by Our Scars. That hi-hat.
Yeah. It's a really good answer.
The fucking chorus to Odd All Angles. That's crazy. That's crazy. Who does that? The John Prime Best Lyric Award, Evil. What do you have?
I'm going back to Odd All Angles, and it's the opening verse. I am not adornments joined on new walls. I am torn muscle. I am budding bruise. The good pain while the deeper hurt. Are these truths? I am not a bridge. No, I am not two ends. No two ends that meet to make one.
Yeah, that's so good.
So good.
I have a few. I had the start of Rhythm and Roar when he comes in with the, give me that torch. I'm going to burn this fucker down.
I have that one right here.
And then Know Us by Our Scars. Know Us by the False Gods. But all of Trust to me, particularly, so there's a part, and I really wish I knew what he was saying here. When I first heard this, I remember wondering if he was military, because there's one specific line where he says, heard the call, gave it all. Now you're telling me I gotta wait here. That whole fucking song, man, that whole song, there's nothing left of me here. Let me go. Intense pain is what that is.
So I had a number 2 lyric on deck, and you're reminding me of it. And it's in Through the Ash. I've always wanted that warmth, but if that's the cost, love, forgive me for saying this, but I'll pay it. Please don't ask me to, because I will.
Yeah, he's got great lyrics, man. Great lyrics. Leads us to Eddie Van Halen Award. The guitar solo in Motionless in the Sky is amazing. The breakdown in Trust is amazing. The guitar solo in Thumbspike. For me, this is going to be insane, because I'm wondering if we have 2 different solos on this album that we think are like one of the best solos of the last decade.
Ooh.
The guitar solo in Odd All Angles is one of the best guitar solos I've heard in, seriously, probably like 10, 15 years. He's not overbearing. He does a little bit of finger tapping, starts it off with a little bit of bending. It is notes that your ears are not expecting to hear.
Dude, that sentence, it's notes that you're not expecting to hear.
Yeah.
Yes. But it still makes sense.
Absolutely. That's mine. What's yours?
It's the solo of Trust.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of the same things.
I think I just never even considered that a solo.
Oh, dude. Watch him play that shit. It's like fucking watching Barry Sanders, like break tackles, turn all the way around and run across the field sideways.
That's such a good comp. Surfer Rosa was the same on this one, right?
The albums flow differently.
I tell you what, they sure do know how to start and end albums.
That's for sure. That's for goddamn sure. It's not heavy one way or the other. It's not top heavy. It's not second half heavy. So,
okay, Time of Your Life award. I will go first on the hardest question to answer. I surprised myself on this. I didn't think that I was going to do one that was as high up. And like you said, it's my least favorite. It's not like I don't like this song, but Through Ash is my least favorite song on this album. I think it's maybe the only time on the album where the climax and what they're going for, it just doesn't hit me the way that I think that they were trying to. What about you?
There's no one song that I feel I can give this award to. There are pieces of songs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good chunk of Motionless in the Sky. It doesn't hit for me. And then something comes in like a solo or something like, that came out of nowhere. Yep. And that's why this album is a bit more uneven for me than Phototroph. Bits and pieces that I think are the Time of Your Life award for me.
Now to the favorite question of ours. 3 best songs on the album, Evil.
This was easier for me. Number 2 and number 1 for me were easy. Number 3 was harder. I'm today going to go with Awe at All Angles at number 3.
Wow.
It easily could have been Rhythm and Roar. It easily could have been Omega Days. But it's going to be my number 3.
Okay.
Number 2 is Trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
But there's a song that grew on me, and it is currently my favorite Moontooth song. It's Musketeers.
Oh, fucking shit.
If I had to pick a Moontooth song to listen to right now, it would be Musketeers. It came out of listening to this album and Phototroph just casually. You know, there's always those songs that kind of burrow their way into your being.
You're showing your leftist side. That's the song where he says that you're never going to fall in line with the great white man. Wow. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I knew that was
You
gonna
named
happen.
4 songs that could be my favorite. All 4 of them are my list. My number 4 is Omega Days. My number 3 is Rhythm and Roar. So that leaves the very obvious top 2 for me. Number 2 being, I really do think that my favorite Moontooth song is one of the best songs that I've heard in like the 2000s. It's a fucking perfect song. So my number 2 is Trust, and my number 1 is Awe at All Angles.
Wow. Yeah.
Everything about that song to me is perfect. And now we're to who won the album, Evil?
We won this album.
We did win this
the
album.
podcast won this album.
We did win this album. That's very true. We've gushed and gushed and gushed and gushed and gushed about John and Nick. We didn't talk much about Vin, but hey, Vin, expect it. You're a bass player. Know your role.
Expect it. He's a beast,
You know,
man.
he is a
Jesus.
beast, but you know,
Watch them live and watch him
he
play.
totally is.
And
But that's part of being a bass player. You got to be okay
You
with
got-
nobody talking
know your
about you.
role.
You are the offensive lineman of music.
if Barry Sanders didn't have an offensive line.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But we gushed and gushed mostly about John and Nick, but to me, Ray Marte.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only is he a phenomenal, incredible drummer that just kills it on this album, but he fucking produces, he engineers, he helped found this band. Ray Marte's the shit, which leaves us with rating this album. I can't tell which one I like more, but I do know they're the same ranking. This gets 9 out of 10 Nick Lee riffs. What's your ranking of this album?
This album gets 8.75 Omega Days.
Okay.
It's uneven within songs. Let me talk about Thumbspike a little bit. That song's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The pieces are awesome. There is not a bad piece of that song. It's just the pieces don't go together in that song.
Okay. Gotcha. That's Moontooth, ladies and gentlemen. That's Crux. That's Phototroph. We talked about both albums. We gushed. We gussied. We love. We're into it. Everybody, stay with us. Join us next week. I'm going to tell you a little something here. Okay.
I have chills.
This current episode has been titled in my notes, The Warm-Up. Evil, why is this titled The Warm-Up?
Here's the disclaimer. I feel like we would have gushed as much or more as we are doing right now.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what I'm about to say. When we went to Idaho from Idaho.
I'm not in Idaho, you bastard.
Hills, let's just say. We went into the snowy hills of Idaho to record the last few sessions of last season. DL told us some things. One of the things he revealed was that the guitar player from Moontooth, the man we've been gushing over, Mr. Nick Lee, is going to grace us with his presence.
Mm-hmm.
I about fell over because the dude is one of my favorite guitar players ever. Yeah, he's going to be on next week and we're going to have a chat about all this fucking awesome music that he wrote.
There is so much to ask him about.
There's so much to talk to him about.
Evil said it best when I told him who we were going to interview this year. First off, I mean it. I'm not just, this isn't because he's coming on the show next week. Nick Lee is my current favorite guitarist. I was saying that before I knew that he was coming on. But if there was one guitarist that I would have so many fucking questions for right now on this earth,
yes,
it's Nick Lee. Nick fucking Lee, everybody.
Holy shit.
Good night and good luck.
She laid the